I was born different. My brain was born different. Oh, oh yeah, that's apparent. But please, keep going. I'm an Asian, but I've never been to Asia. I live in America, and I had to assimilate to American culture. I'm pretty sure there's a club you can join with like a few million other members for that exact same thing. You're not the only one. Alright, I know. And then you go on to say, and you click with the Eastern philosophies and the Eastern way of teachings and methodologies much more than you do with the Western. I gotta tell you, I gotta tell you, not necessarily true, especially when you look at all your stuff, because you talk about Buddhism, the teachings of Buddha, Zen and meditation, but you spend so little time on that. It's outrageous. Seeing as how that's how you market yourself is one of your selling points, the spiritual aspect of martial arts. But you never spend any real time in it, which is odd because you do put most of your life online. And for that to be one of your major selling points of your school and to be one of your core personal identity systems as a spiritual enlightened Zen person, you'd think you would have more of that up there than you would your bigotry, your homophobia, your sexism, and bigotry, homophobia, sexism. Especially racism. That's a new one that you've really been diving into lately. So yeah, why is it mostly that as opposed to your spirituality and your core belief systems of Zen, Buddha, and meditation? Where is it? You've only been projecting the negative. I would dare say that a student in college that has been studying Buddhism for 2 years would have a much more profound and visible grasp on the concepts of Buddhism and spirituality, Zen, and meditation than you do yourself at this current point in time. Prove me wrong. You won't. Then you go on to say that, well, if you were in Asia, you'd just be awesome in martial arts like, Jackie Chan and Jet Li, but you couldn't really express yourself in clear English like you can now. First of all, you're not that great at expressing yourself in clear English. Yes, English is your first language, but your thought process as well as your logic, and not to mention your basic grammar at times, makes it difficult to really appreciate your stance. Not to mention that it's often full of bigotry, homophobia, sexism, and racism, and just typical small-mindedness. That aside. Now, you should probably be aware that Jackie Chan and Jet Li both speak perfect English, and while they didn't used to, they certainly do now. It wasn't a big priority for them at the time. They found time, they found a more profound interest in learning English. They did so very well. They can speak to anyone in English fine. Um, Now, as far as understanding their viewpoints and their spirituality, because they are actually from China, you know, in this culture, their views in spirituality may not be widely accepted as someone else's own personal truth, but that does not mean by any stretch of the imagination that we could understand it. We'd be incapable of comprehending where they were coming from, what they were talking about, although we may not necessarily agree with it. And it certainly isn't offensive. They're certainly not going to use their Eastern philosophies of Zen and spirituality and Buddhism to project an inferiority complex against women, homosexuals, different races, you know, different styles of martial arts, and especially the aspect of sport fighting, because I guarantee you they probably don't have too much of a quarrel with that. Now, I think I've seen something where Jackie Chan doesn't necessarily like MMA, and that's fine. He doesn't like MMA, you don't like MMA, but you don't see him talking the same amount of hatred and vile, disgusting shit that you do. He simply doesn't like it, he doesn't endorse it, and if people try to get him to watch it, he may explain his viewpoints, and he could have some sound backing behind that. I'd probably listen to those points of view because they're intelligent and they're well thought out and they're not offensive. Yours, however, are clouded with all kinds of negativity, homophobia, sexism, and racism. That's why you don't understand yourself, is because you can't get why people aren't seeing that as an Eastern philosophy coming out of a Western civilization. And that's how you view it. It's not what that is. What this is you trying to justify your own hatred as reason. And you're failing horribly. And that's why everyone is really having a hard time understanding you.